Hi, boy. Welcome to today's live readings by five talented authors. Hopefully, the clock change didn't cause too many problems for you. My name is Jody Zarambi. Some of you might know me by my pen name, Jazzy Mitchell. I'm the publisher at Launchpoint Press, and I partnered with Desert Palm Press to bring these live events to you. Before I introduce you to our writers, I wanted to let you know we welcome comments and questions from you while you are watching this live. Simply type it into the comment area underneath the live stream video and we will see it. I'm excited to hear our guests read for us today. With me are Desert Palm Press author Rae Magdon, who will be reading from Song of Stars, which was released in December 2022. Hi, Rae. Good morning.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Our
I'm excited
pleasure.
to read from this book.
Yes, we are glad that you are here.
We have a
and
cameo.
we have a cat cameo. Awesome.
This is Lawson Miranda, named after the Mass Effect character.
Excellent.
She loves to sit with me while I'm doing this sort of thing.
Great. Thank you for the introduction. We are also hearing from today Desert Palm Press author Tonnell, who will be reading from Not Too Old, which is a companion piece to Not Sorry, part of the Mountains to Coast romance series, and it's due to come out early summer. Hi, Anne.
Hi.
Nice to see you today. Also with us today is Launchpoint Press author Sandra de Helen, who will read from I Eat My Words, Poetry and Recipes. And that came out July of 2022. Hi, Sandra. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Also with us today is Desert Point Press author CJ Murphy. Who's reading from House of Refuge, part of the 5-point series that just came out last month, right? Hi, CJ.
Yes. Good to see you guys.
Nice to see you. And I don't know why I said the name wrong of Desert Palm Press, but sorry.
My fault. Just remember.
I know it's Murphy's Law. You know, that's why it happened with you and no one else.
Desert Point Press is for all future collaborations between.
There you go. Yes, because we're collaborating. I just kind of. There you go. And then we have a special guest today who is from Bywater Books, Virginia Black, whose debut novel just came out last month too. Hi, Virginia.
Hey, folks. Really good to see you. And thanks a lot for letting me be here. I'm glad I get to play with the big kids today.
And we're glad to have you here today. So for this event, we're going to be hearing excerpts from all of these wonderful writers. And again, if you would like to comment or ask a question, please just put it in the chat and we will make sure that we get that to our authors. So let's get to it. We want to hear all of these wonderful excerpts. And we're going to start with Desert Palm Press author Tonnell. So why don't you tell us a bit about the book and set up the scene?
All right. Well, first of all, thank you all for tuning in today. And thanks to those who watch it later. I really appreciate all y'all being here and to be able to read from Not Too Old. As Jazzy said, it's the second of the 3 Mountains to Coast romances and is supposed to come out by the summer. A little background of the book. Samantha Sam Avery is in her mid-60s. She's retired and is part-time caretaking her declining mother, B. She finds exercise and solace in bicycling and particularly enjoys riding the roads of the beach not far from her mom's place. Sam has pretty much given up on finding love at her age, but in this section of chapter 2, she faces a new opportunity. Even though she hadn't slept well, Sam managed to get up and have coffee brewed by 8. She poured herself a cup and the remainder into a carafe for her mom. She set out her mom's cup, complete with 3 heaping pink spoons of artificial sweetener and a spoon ready to stir it in. Sam would be on the bicycle before mom's rise after 10. B would only have to pour the coffee and roll it on the walker seat to her spot at the table. She wouldn't eat until Sam returned or until her meal from senior services arrived just after 11. Sam parked in her favorite lot along the beach, retrieved a parking pass from the machine, and walked it back to put on her windshield. To her surprise, the parking service woman was writing her a ticket. "Hey, I was right over there getting the pass. Here it is," Sam said, holding the pass up and opening her door. "Oh, that's your car." The attendant curtly pointed to Sam's Honda Element. "Yes, and I walked right in front of you as you gave a ticket to that guy." Sam pointed as she replied. "I know you saw me." "Sorry, I'll avoid it right now," she said. Parking lady was likely a little younger, quite a bit taller, 5'8" maybe, slimmer, short and graying hair, dark skin and freckles. Her uniform included a polo shirt and boat shoes with socks. Her dark khaki shorts revealed a knee brace, and Sam noticed what appeared to be a knee replacement scar on the other knee. But she looked very athletic, attractive, actually very attractive. Sam couldn't tell if she was a sister friend or not, but she easily could have been. "Thanks for that. I mean, the timestamp would have shown I was standing right here, but I'm glad I don't have to hassle with challenging it. A beat pass. I guess not everyone is cheery getting a ticket." "Not at all," parking lady replied curtly. "Everybody around here knows you pay to park, March 1 through October 31. They just push it. You know, I've had problems with machines in the past, and the telephone parking system doesn't always work seamlessly. The voice instructions ask for the parking spot number, and the spots aren't numbered in the slot." Sam pointed to the unnumbered pavement. "It's a bit irritating to know you're expected to follow directions that aren't clear. Hope I'm not getting myself in trouble. You know, I want to ride, not argue." "Okay, then." Parking lady slapped the ticket pad lightly against her palm. She turned her head up and then back towards Sam and raised her sunglasses to the top of her head. "Nice bike. Enjoy the ride, me say." "Thanks, I will. See you next time." Sam snapped her helmet strap as a smile spread across parking lady's face. Sam returned the smile through a squint. Sam headed north and would make that short loop before heading the longer route to the south end, around Harbor Island, and back north to the parking area. Heading north, she saw parking lady in the lot near the fishing pier stoplight. Parking lady gave a little wave and smile. "Whoa." Sam waved back. "Maybe she's nicer than I thought. Maybe I'll see her again sometime." Maybe what, Avery? Just right, okay?" The headwind all the way north dropped Sam's average speed close to 3 miles per hour, but it was good to have the workout. The sun was warm and the breeze was chilly. She was glad she'd worn a long-sleeved jersey. Upon the return to her car, she locked the bike back to the rack, removed her helmet, and swapped her riding shoes for Crocs. Since there was half hour left on her parking pass, she decided to walk out to the beach itself to see the ocean. The wind fueled some nice wave action, and their sounds were calming. As she walked back to her car door, a parking lady drove up in the service's UTV. "You made it back in time," she shouted as Sam reached for her car door handle. "Ha ha. You thought you'd get to give me a ticket after all?" "Nah, I just thought I'd see if I could get a rise out of you." Parking lady turned off the engine. "My name is Deb Martin." "Sam Avery, nice to meet you." Sam stepped to the UTV, pulled her bike glove off, and took Deb's hand. "Glad you made it. You know, nothing has centered me quite as quickly as the ocean, the sounds of the ocean, waves crashing and rolling, sometimes the tinkling of shells. But now I'd better get out of here before my pass runs out." "I'll let you slide today." Deb looked over the rims of her sunglasses. "I bet you say that to all the girls." Sam smiled, crossing her arms in front of her as she leaned against the car. "Not everyone." Sam watched Deb slide out of the UTV and walk toward her. "Okay, she's definitely flirty, isn't she?" She couldn't see Deb's eyes, but she thought they were checking her out. "Whoa, is this happening? Are you staying around here a few days? I see your Georgia plate." "Yeah, my mom lives in Ogden." Deb pointed her thumb over her shoulder. "Maybe I'll see you again then. Weather's supposed to be nice tomorrow. I should be here again, same time." "Good, it's a date." Deb tapped her sunglasses in a mock salute. "See you then." She smiled, jumped back into the UTV, and drove off. Sam felt a stirring of excitement. "Now, Avery, don't go there just yet. It was the first action she had seen in years. She was going to do whatever it took to see where it might lead. She damn sure wasn't getting any younger. And if someone was halfway interested after seeing her in bike shorts, it was a good sign. She cranked up DNCE and sang about cake on the drive home.
Thank you. I love that. If someone was interested after seeing her in her bike shorts, yep, you might as well go for it. Great job. I love that first meeting. Thank you, Anne. Next, we're going to hear from Desert Palm Press author Rae Magdon. Go ahead and set up the scene for us. Let us know a little bit about that book it's from.
Oh, I'm next. All right. This is the novel I'll be reading from, Song of Stars, with a beautiful cover by Rachel George. I have to always shout her out. This story is a childhood sweethearts to rivals story about two young girls who grow up at a fantasy music school, and they compete for the attention and affection of their cold, demanding music instructor, Lady Lyrath, and eventually they have to compete for the same position. There's also, and they were roommates, only one bed, and deposing corrupt politicians, so just girly things. And I will be reading from the prologue, so this is the very opening of the book. Murray, first day. Dawn bell tolls the low melodic notes of morning. Murray stands upon a beach of black sand, gazing across a vast ocean of stars. The waves glow like the last rays of sunset, rusty orange bleeding into deep crimson, twilight purples pooling into blues so dark they border on black. Faint white lights float like lanterns upon the surface, rolling and bobbing, beckoning. Murray smiles. She has died and moved on to the sea of stars, just as planned. Not the worst end, from what she remembers. Better to die for a cause than in a sickbed. Besides, it seems peaceful here. The breeze is cool against her skin, its brine sharp in her nose. It smells like Farsi, the village of her birth. Murray steps into the surf, bare feet sinking into the wet sand. Waves swirl around her ankles as though to tug her deeper. She spreads her arms wide to catch the sea spray, feeling lighter than she has in 2 long years. At last, she can rest. Dawn bell tolls again, booming and insistent over the hiss of the ocean, a strange sound to hear in the afterlife. Murray frowns, glancing over her shoulder. There are no buildings here, no bell towers. There is only the beach, which stretches some distance before disappearing into a line of gray fog. She turns once more toward the ocean, only to pause as an echo reaches her ears. A familiar song sings from far beyond the fog, a rich alto voice that starts soft but grows louder and more resonant. The sun's begun to rise, the moon has gone away. Murray stops. She knows that voice, those words. Safina. Open up your eyes and greet a brand new day. A stinging lump forms in Murray's throat. If there's anyone she regrets leaving behind, it's her Safina. She stands ankle deep in the waves, her previous certainty shaken. Part of her wants to dive into the sea and seek refuge beneath the surface, a reward she's more than earned. Another part of her longs to follow Safina's voice into the fog, in hopes of seeing her face one last time. The breeze stills. Safina's song dies away. Instead, Murray hears the creak of oars in the distance. A rowboat cuts across the starry waves, its dark silhouette growing larger as it glides toward shore. A hunched figure wearing a brown cloak pulls the oars, stirring the water in steady rhythm. The rowboat slides to a stop in the shallows, its prow nudging the sand. Murray glimpses the face beneath the rower's hood. She gasps. Speaker Yaneri? Though her old mentor entered Of Eternal Sleep's embrace years ago, there can be no mistake. Murray knows that snow-white hair, that wrinkled brown face, those dark, glittering eyes. Murray. Yaneri's voice is rough but warm, like the crackle of a log upon the hearth. It's been too long. Murray wades into the shallows, skirts swirling around her legs. She leans over the boat, pulling Yaneri into a tight embrace. Tears burn her eyes, mingling with the sea spray on her face as she breathes in the speaker's familiar scent. Yaneri smells like fresh linens hanging in a warm summer breeze. I've missed you. Yaneri smooths Marae's hair beneath her hand. Her swollen joints seem to lack the stiffness Marae remembers. I've missed you too, but why have you come so soon? Marae blinks away more tears. It's a long story, but I died a noble death. Others will carry on my work. I'm not disappointed how my story ended. Wake up, flowers bloom, birds sing. Wake up, good morning, everything. Safina's voice rings across the waves, beautifully bright and clear. Marae lifts her chin from Yaneri's shoulder and glances toward the beach. Pale gray light shines in the distance, reminding her of daybreak on a rainy winter morning. It clears some of the mist, revealing a faint image, an unfamiliar bedroom where a figure sits slumped on a stool. The edges of the image are blurred, its faded colors nearly translucent, but Marae recognizes Safina. Her head hangs forward, wavy brown hair falling about her face. She sits beside the bed, holding someone's hand. Marae can see their face clearly as well. It's her own. Eyes closed, lips parted. Her body lies still, draped in a thin white sheet. Marae wrenches her gaze away. She can't bear to witness anymore, can't bear to watch Safina mourn her death. Sacrificing herself for a cause was one thing. Witnessing the consequences is different. She looks to Yaneri, her anchor, the wise one who always knew which path to take in life. Speaker, am I dead? Not quite yet, Yaneri says. You should have died, but certain interested parties have requested you be given a choice. Marae licks her lips. They've gone dry in the brisk salt air. A choice whether to live or die? She isn't sure she wants a choice. Not now, after she's already given so much. Choices are exhausting. It's all too easy to make the wrong ones. Yaneri nods. Her dark eyes shine amidst the deep wrinkles and folds of her face. The decision must be yours, but the boundaries of time are fluid here. Fluid enough for you to hear Safina's side of the story. At the mention of Safina's name, Marae looks back at the sky. The ghostly image of Safina tucks a lock of her hair behind her ear, revealing her pale face and red-ringed eyes. She leans forward, whispering to the body lying on the bed. This time, when her voice drifts toward Marae on the wind, it isn't a song. It's a choked, desperate plea. Please, Marae, remember everything you have to live for, because I'm utterly lost without you.
Wow, what a setup.
And that's what I got. Song of Stars.
Great. That sounds really exciting, Rae. I love the setup. I love this that it starts the book, soon to be a movie. No, I love the book. I know, right? But I love the setup of the book where Marae is given the chance to, or the choice to go back into living or to move on, so to speak. So that's a great setup, and I want to know more. Thank you. Okay, so let's listen to Launch Point Press author Sandra de Helen, who will read from her poetry, I Eat My Words. Hi, Sandra.
Hi. Yep, here it is. Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it. I just want to say this is a poetry cookbook, and the dedication is to the best cook in our family and the light of my life, my daughter Stormy. She cooked professionally for several years, and a lot of these recipes are hers. I'm not going to read recipes. Stormy's soups. Nothing is more healing or more comforting than great tasting soup. Stormy makes the best potato soup, celery soup. Every soup she makes is sublime. She was born to cook and started when she was 8. Like all great chefs, she knows what to add, what to subtract. Her potato soup is creamy without adding cream. Her celery soup tastes like fresh celery out of the garden without the strings. With butter and a few other ingredients, Stormy's soups sing to my soul and make my body happy. Okay. This next one is my ode to biscuits. Grandma made biscuits every morning for breakfast. Mom popped hers from a can bought at Blue's Market. My favorite biscuits to bake are made from my favorite food, yogurt biscuits. So light, they nearly float away. Made without processors or mixers or any noise other than my own hands cutting in the butter, kneading and pressing the dough into shape. I can make these while the house sleeps, have them hot and ready when it's time to break fast. Give me a lime. Lemons are fine, but nothing smells like a lime. The green skin is divine. I love me a lime. I'm known for my lime glazed pound cake, so fine there is never an unlicked tine, thanks to the lime. The big bundt cake takes time, which is fine, since the lime scent and taste are favorites of mine. Ever since the first time when people said it was sublime, the lime glazed cream cheese pound cake has been my prime dessert for dinner time with friends or any time I need a divine dish to serve a client. Okay. Tangerine. The peel comes away in my hands. No effort, no need for tools. The aroma bursts forth before the skin is pierced. The tiny sections give up their skin at the slightest pressure of my teeth. The juice runs sweetness across my tongue and down my yearning throat. Once these were available only at Christmas, their scent as evocative as the cedar tree standing in front of the window, showing off its jewelry to the neighbors. Memories of a Christmas pageant, being draped in white robes, crowned with a halo, reciting the Bible version of the birth 1 month after the death of my father. Santa came after, bearing small brown paper bags with nuts, a few candies, and that deep orange tangerine. This small globe of sunshine sits in my hand, holding, then revealing long ago memories. And finally, secret ingredient. The go-to cake in our family is Aunt Inez's old Southern butter cake, full of butter and sugar. You can beat it by hand, bake it in a wood stove oven in a battered sheet pan. You bring it to the bereaved on body viewing night or funeral day. You bring it to Memorial Day, clean up at the family cemetery, or baby showers, weddings, Thanksgiving, and Christmas when someone eats the entire cake on body viewing night. You go home and whip up another for the funeral day. The secret is your husband beats you. You beat that into the cake.
Wow, great job, Sandra. Really enjoyed those. Your word choice is so evocative and descriptive. It makes me really feel and almost taste what you're describing there. And I also like what you're putting in there as far as emotion. So I really hope more people will go ahead and read those because your poetry is great. I love it.
Thank you so much. I just want to say that these recipes in here are all vegetarian and could easily be made vegan. So
Yes.
you don't get to see that often enough, really. I mean, you can buy lots of vegetarian cookbooks, but they don't
Right.
have poetry as well.
That's right. It's like a double punch there. We get the poetry and the meanings within them, and we get great recipes that we can try out. Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to hear from our special guest from Bywater Books, Virginia Black. Go ahead and set up the scene. Tell us about the book. Your audio's off. There you go. They'll put you back in now.
Right. I have restored my technological know-how here. I'm reading from my novel Consecrated Ground. Consecrated Ground is a queer paranormal romance from Bywater Books. Just a shout out to Anne McMahon for this amazing cover. Joan Matthews is a war witch, one who uses spellcraft to fight vampires and their minions in a world which is much like our own, except vampires are real. Upon news of her estranged father's death, she returns to her hometown to find it besieged by a vampire lord. She also finds her ex living in her dead father's house. Lee Fan hides a dark secret, but may hold the key to saving everyone. Both of the protagonists are women of color, and this is the first in what I hope will be at least a trilogy. Bywater Books is I'm already working with them on my second unrelated novel, No Shelter But the Stars. In this first scene, we are introduced to Joan. The gnarled oak greeted Joan like an old friend. Half a mile from the Calvert town limits, its lowest, thickest limb marked the curve in the road just as she remembered, but she ignored the sign to slow down. If she did, the 3 men blocking her side of the 2-lane road would probably try to stab her tires. One was armed with only a menacing look, but the others held a crowbar and a knife respectively. One was black like Joan, but with short, thick, matted natural hair, and shorter than her near 6 feet in height. Crowbar guy had a few inches on her. All 3 of them were too grimy and underfed to gauge their ages any better than between 25 and 40. They stood in direct sunlight, so they weren't vampires. Even cocky new vampires who thought nothing could touch them avoided the sun. Ultraviolet rays made dead flesh decompose faster. These men were most likely vampire thralls, human minions under vampire control. Well, Luther, Joan said, her SUV ever the patient listener. It's always something, am I right? Joan revved the biodiesel engine in warning, but they didn't budge. The Oregon coast, Crowbar tried to knock out a headlight, but the cages on the grill prevented that sort of thing. The one with the knife fell over in an attempt to stab a tire, then rolled clear when she sped up. Joan glanced in the rearview mirror. The short, unarmed guy helped his fallen comrade to his feet. Would they give up and leave or lie in wait for the next traveler? This close to the county line marking the outskirts of her hometown, they were bound to run into the town watch. She chalked the whole event down to a wide, boring miss. Today was a bad day for a fight anyway. She pressed on the gas pedal. Then the dog showed up. Even for a Siberian husky, he was large, with black, gray, and white fur, warring for dominance over his coat. He should have been lumbering down the highway as big as he was, but all that muscle raced in spectacular symmetry. In the rear view, he leapt for the neck of the human thrall with the knife and took the man down in one clean pounce. Crowbar raised his weapon with obvious intent. Joan hit the brakes so hard, the tires screeched in protest. She shifted into reverse. A honk of the horn distracted them from the dog. She jacked the wheel to one side before parking Luther at an angle in the lane, then opened the door and leapt to the road without her gun. A raged battle was always better, one where the enemy never got the chance to touch her, but if she shot her semi-automatic pistol into this mess, she might hit the dog. Instead, she drew a 6-inch black powder-coated Bowie from the worn leather sheath at her thigh. Knife guy lay on the ground wrestling with the dog, thankfully forgetful that he held a weapon. The amount of blood leaking from his neck suggested he was losing. Crowbar came at Joan, but she blocked his overhead swing with one arm. She swept her other elbow at his jaw, and he grunted in pain and fell back, but didn't drop the crowbar. Shorty moved in, his fists raised like a boxer's, but without gloves, one solid punch would break his hand. Joan tried not to roll her eyes in the middle of a fight. She tapped her tongue twice against the roof of her mouth and puffed a burst of air in his direction. A small cloud of mist appeared in front of his face, and he pulled back in surprise. She almost felt bad for him. The chances these guys had ever faced a war witch were slim, and even basic battle maneuver spells, one that didn't even require incantations, would give her an advantage. "It's okay if you want to forsake your masters," she said. "I swear I won't tell." Maybe she could end this fight without killing any of them. Human thralls deserved pity, no matter how they'd ended up in vampire clutches. None of them had her level of training, but it was still 3 against 1, against 2 if she counted the dog, who had scrambled away from the guy on the ground when he grabbed at an ear hard enough to make the dog yowl. Crowbar had long, greasy hair and a thick, filthy beard. Thanks to her elbow hit, one of his lips was split and bleeding. He adjusted his grip and came at her again. Knife Guy moved more slowly, looking grislier by the second as the blood flowed down his front. Shorty lurched into any gap where he'd fit, even if he didn't seem to know what he was doing. It was madness in close quarters as she hit them more than they managed to hit her. Despite the number of her hard enough to debilitate blows, though, they kept coming back for more. The dog joined the fight, but that only made things more complicated, especially when Joan tripped over him and landed flat on her back. Joan blocked the hits from her assailants as she rolled away. They hadn't tried to kick her, which would have incapacitated her, and instead tried to punch at her as she moved. They weren't going to stop, and if she didn't end this, she'd tire and they'd gain an advantage. Sparing them was taking too much time, and no way was she dying on a shit country road in backwater nowhere at the hands of bloodsucker gophers. The next time Shorty came at her, she slid her knife between his ribs right into his heart. He was dead before she pulled the knife free. She was too busy staving off the other two to watch him fall. Knife Guy came at her, his neck a macabre sheet of blood, but she kicked him hard enough in the stomach to shift him back. It gave her enough room to deal with Crowbar. The dog had his teeth sunk into this guy's ankle and gave him a solid pull, but the man persisted. When he was close enough, Joan palmed his nose into his brain, and his head snapped back and he collapsed. The bloody one came at her again. She whispered an incantation to trip him, and by the time he'd recovered enough to charge at her again, she'd switched the grip on her knife. Last chance to change her mind. She eyed his clumsy approach and tasted her victory. He wasn't talking, which was weird. Human males in a fight, they always had something to say. The arc of the autumn sunlight shifted and drew through the road into shadow. The dog snarled at an empty patch of dirt across the road. A shiver of warning slid across the back of Joan's neck. A fourth man leapt from a nearby tree to the ground. He didn't look a day over 20. Shirtless despite the chill, his skin gleamed a warm bronze. He wore his long black hair tied back in a ponytail and completed the look with black utilitarian pants and hiking boots. An unnatural golden light glinted in his honey brown eyes, and the sclera that should have been white gleamed yellow. When his malicious grin promised pain at best and violation at worst, Joan tasted nothing but danger. The bloodling strolled towards her as if he had all the time in the world.
Wow. Joan is a badass.
Joan's badass.
Yeah, love it. And now I want to know what happens next with Joan. And I'm assuming that's a vampire then that came out, or?
I can't give you any more spoilers, Jazzy.
Come on.
I'm going to offer one spoiler because this is important, and I want to make this clear for everyone who has any concerns. The dog lives.
All right. Yes, that's important because once you kill the dog, all bets are off.
All bets are off. The book gets thrown across the room at the wall.
That's right. Well, thanks for being with us today, Virginia. And our last one, certainly not least, but Murphy's Law is in effect today, obviously. So we had to put you at the end, just in case, CJ. I hope you don't mind. But tell us about which book you're reading from and set up the scene for us.
Okay, I'm going to be reading from House of Refuge, which is the 5th book in the series. And if you are a fan of the series, then you'll recognize the characters because they come out of book number 3, which is Redemption's Road. So the story is based in Thomas, West Virginia, a very small, kind of eclectic little town. And Rebecca and Naomi, who are the characters you're going to hear from here in a minute, are non-denominational pastors. Now, they have a history between the two of them. They were separated for some time. But in Redemption's Road, they actually get back together, and they're now a married couple. So they're pastors of this non-denominational church, but they also have other backgrounds. Rebecca is a former rock star with her sister in a band that they had. So it's a varied story. But what I'm getting ready to read for you is the first part of House of Refuge, which opens up into some drama that is going to follow all the way through the book. And hopefully you guys will enjoy it. Rebecca dialed Chance's number. When she answered, she could tell the sheriff was in her vehicle. Rebecca, what can I do for you? I have a missing person report I'm headed to investigate. If it's about a transgender boy named Lucian, he's who I'm calling you about. I was told it was a girl named Lucy Ann dressed in a hoodie. I'm guessing there's more to this story than I was given by the Children's Shelter Administration. Rebecca sighed and rubbed her temple with her thumb. Yes, there is. Are you coming by here? I'd like to go with you. I've talked with Lucian several times. Maybe I can help. I'll be there in 15 minutes. Thanks, Chance. Just in case no one ever tells you this, you're a good sheriff. Rebecca hung up and went to the closet to find her warm winter snow boots and a parka. Naomi came around the corner and pushed a beanie down over Rebecca's dark locks. Promise me you'll call when you know anything. I'll go ahead and make some preliminary calls to the troops and get a feel for how many volunteers I can round up. Rebecca leaned in and put her hand around the back of her wife's neck, drawing her in for a deep kiss. You're pretty amazing, you know that? Naomi kissed her back and wiped a small smudge of lipstick off the corner of Rebecca's mouth. That's what you keep telling me. Take your collapsible ski poles. I know you're very adept to your new leg, but let's not take any chances. Rebecca smiled. A top-of-the-line prosthesis and many hours of grueling rehab had allowed her to recover from the accident that took her leg. They're at the bottom of the stairs. I'll grab them on my way out with my hiking pack. I love you. Naomi zipped the ski jacket and wrapped her arm around Rebecca. Whatever you do, promise to come home to me. Rebecca drew her close and sighed into the top of the shorter woman's hair. Naomi would always be haunted by the memory of her going missing and being found submerged in freezing water, a promise I willingly make and fully intend to keep. Rebecca slid into the passenger seat of Chance's Suburban and buckled her seatbelt. Chance patted her on the shoulder. Good to see you. Thanks for coming out. I'm always happy to see you and Zeus. I wish it was under better circumstances. I don't have to tell you how worried I am. Chance glanced at her. What can you tell me about the person reported missing? Rebecca tightened her fist, anger bubbling up inside of her at the transphobia at the children's shelter that was perpetrating. I know they told you that Lucy Ann is missing. That's the dead name of Lucian Altavice, a trans boy from the home. He's been having a very hard time at the school over his coming out. Laura Sandestro is one of the members of our church. Do you know her? Chance nodded. I do. She works at the children's shelter, doesn't she? Yes. She approached me about Lucian some time ago. I've gone over there for music programs and tried to engage with him. Everything Laura's told me leads me to believe that he's lived hell since he was announced that he was trans and wanted to be called Lucian. Chance shook her head. Did he open up to you at all? Rebecca stared out the window. From what Lucian said, he entered the system at 12 after his caretaker grandmother passed away. There were a few trials with foster families, but when he wouldn't conform to them being the little girl they were looking for, he was returned to the system. Chance turned onto the road that would take them to Canaan Valley State Park. I'd hate to think where I'd be if Maggie and Dee hadn't taken me in. As you know, I'm not much of a conformist myself. The world would be a much better place if there were more families like yours, Chance. Rebecca spotted the lodge coming into sight and the ice ring beyond it. Deep snow covered the grounds as large flakes floated down. She looked at the dashboard display that showed the time and temperature, 3 o'clock and 21 degrees. Lord help us find him. Rebecca spotted a familiar face standing with a taller man in front of the skating rink office. There's Laura. Chance put the vehicle in park and reported to the dispatch center that she'd arrived on the scene. Rebecca grabbed her backpack as she let Zeus out. Laura walked to meet him. Sheriff Fitzsimmons, it's good to see you. I wish it was under better circumstances. Rebecca, thanks for coming. Laura accepted a hug that Rebecca offered. Rebecca held on tight for a minute. It's going to be okay. I filled Chance in on Lucian. Laura nodded, then turned to Chance. That's our activity director over there with members of the lodge security. He likely has what little info there is. Chance squeezed Laura's arm on her way by. Finding him is now my department's top priority. Laura and Rebecca said a small prayer and waited for Chance to come back to them. She joined them and pointed to her vehicle. The security officers agreed to let me examine their video footage to see if we can find him on camera, leaving the rink area. Rebecca squeezed Laura's hand. We'll find him. Remember, we have a loving God to help protect him and lead us. Rebecca followed Chance back to the vehicle and said a silent prayer that God would drop a few breadcrumbs for them to find the missing sparrow named Lucian. A bank of monitors blinked in an eerie black and white panoramic view of the area. Security had backed the tape up to the right time before where the credit card receipt registered in the system. When the group had exited the van, the video showed them as nothing more than a mass at check-in. The amount of activity at the resort made it difficult to determine which one of the hooded figures was Lucian. Rebecca sat glued to the computer monitor, watching for anything that would distinguish Lucian. Minutes passed by before she jumped up, the chair rolling back and crashing into a filing cabinet. There he is. Chance turned to the security guard. Can you back that tape up? The video showed a lone figure walking out a side exit of the rink. The face was hidden by a hood, hands deep into jacket pockets, and a backpack slung over his shoulders. He quickly disappeared into the woods. At least we know where to start. Chance stood and grabbed her cell phone from her coat pocket. Rebecca stood as well. I'll head down to go look. He's got too much time on us, and daylight is fading far too quickly. Chance pointed at her. Do not get lost. I don't have time to look for both of you. Rebecca saluted and held up her GPS unit as she pushed the door open with her shoulder. As fast as her leg would let her go, she found the closest exit. She opened her backpack and pulled on the headlamp before extending the collapsible poles. She marked a home flag on her device. With a final thought of her promise to Naomi, she started into the woods. It wasn't long before the buildings were no longer visible, and she was surrounded by tree branches heavy with snow. She was no tracker or first responder by any stretch of the imagination. All she had was her faith and a burning desire to find a young man who was in trouble. She stopped and listened. On a spring day, the roar of Blackwater Falls would be echoing around her. On her GPS, she pulled up a layer map of Canaan Valley State Park. It was obvious by the thick copse of trees around her that she wasn't on a marked trail. The map revealed that she was headed in the direction of the main road that went through the valley. Her ability to see was diminishing, even with her headlamp. It was time to admit defeat for now. I won't give up, Lucian. I promise. I'll be in your corner if you just let me find you.
That was great. I could hear several of the characters that have run through your series are back, which is wonderful. I'm sure your readers are going to love to see what they're up to. And this whole setup of Lucian, I can see why that's going to go throughout your book there. That setup of this poor kid. I mean, how old is Lucian, by the way? You know, and
Lucian, he's 18. He's just
okay.
Right before 18.
Young adult. So, and, you know, obviously going through a lot here, and how great that Rebecca and so many of the others, Chance, are banding together to try and find him and help him. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, wasn't that awesome? We got to hear from 5 talented authors today. I hope you'll check them out, and please support them by reading and reviewing their works. Our next live stream will be on Thursday, April 20th, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So we are changing it from Sundays. And at that point on April 20th, we will go ahead and interview Barbara Lynn Murphy and Lori L. Lake. I hope you'll join us then. And thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.